nothing happened to the president or the trade so far. But they've done an visit to IT, which I'm going to submit to IT. So, you are a victim yourself. Yes. And nothing happened to the president or the trade so far. But they've done an visit to IT, which I'm going to submit to IT. So,
I've just finished meeting with Mr. President, sir. May we know some of the details of your expression, sir?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I've not been here for quite some time. So first it was to appreciate the president's leadership and to reassure him of my absolute loyalty, which is unconditional. Whether I am chairman, I'm not chairman. The most important thing is I am a loyal member of the All Progressive Congress. And I will always do everything I can to support the growth and development of the party. And of course, my absolute loyalty to the president as a person and to the government that he leads. The second was to have opportunity to give an update on what we are doing in Edo, and the campaigns are going well. The level of massive support is huge, and from my evaluation, share with him, I'm very confident that we will win the election hands down. There's no question about that, because Edo is basically APC state. And some of the things that have made our campaign easier is the fact that we've established a tradition in Edo State that don't believe any politician until you have seen the action, particularly if that politician is already in office. If he's not yet in office, you can have a way to ask yourself, should I believe this one? If there are two strangers, who should you believe? It can be quite challenging. But when you have an incumbent governor who is being challenged by someone who has not yet been a governor, the issue is simple. In your ward, and we have 192 wards, we go out to ask them just one question. Have you seen government presence in this ward since 4 years ago when I left? And the answer is no. Because the current governor spent all his time on memorandum of understanding for refinery, which remains a memorandum, is not on ground. He got our vice president, Yemi Osibajo, to come and do groundbreaking for an industrial park where he claimed that many Chinese and Singaporeans were anxious to come and relocate factories, and he will create 200,000 jobs. Now that place has become what we might call a kidnapper's park, because people rob and go into the bush. There is nothing going on there. Not that the progress is slow, absolutely nothing going on there. And of course, the Gili port, all of the promises he made with IOU, they are lavishly used on television, white men, colored people signing agreements, etc. People now say 4 years later, none of them is in progress. And he has not built schools. Edo is the main industry in Edo is education. People are very cautious of education, which was why during my tenure, we made it a policy to renew public schools, primary, secondary. And in his time, he has collected the money from Suburb, but he has used them for other purposes. So we're asking the people, in your ward, have you seen new red roof? Because that is how they could name the schools we were building. Because we used lock span aluminum and casement windows, aluminum windows. And word by word, they can point at anything that is new. Then we ask them, has he constructed road in your local government? The answer is no. In fact, in one community he visited day before yesterday, the traditional ruler asked him, there was this road, not more than 5 kilometers, linking the community to another community that will enable them evacuate their farm produce to the market. And he said, since comrade left, you promised when you came here with comrade said you will continue with the road project. But since he left, you have abandoned it. And he said, oh, I was distracted. But if I'm re-elected, I will do it. And people are like, when you knew you would seek re-election, you didn't do it. You were not afraid. When we will have given you final term, what are our options? Should you not do it? So you just find that MOUs are only celebrated by consultants. They are not celebrated by real people. And you can hire 1 million social media people to post all kinds of negative stories. They do not change the fact of what is on ground. And the actual voters, they are not social media warriors. They just look at the environment and say, do I now have water? The last time a borehole was sacked in this community was Buhari Oshiomhole. Even now, the borehole is not being maintained, so it has broken down. And this government is not doing anything. So our campaign is so easy. And I'm sure if you watch the visuals on the social media, you see the reaction of people when we go for campaign. It's not just about the number of people that turned up. You see the energy, the excitement, the passion that people are in a hurry to vote for APC. So I share all of this with Mr. President. And lastly, to say that the outgoing governor is talking more about violence. You must have watched him on channel television where he said he will meet violence for violence. And we are saying, no, there will be no violence. It will be like a celebrity Christmas. Or you are going to do a plebiscite between MOU, which Edo people has now codenamed Memorandum of Underdevelopment, and a governor with a clear SIPO agenda, which is the product of his brain. And you would have noticed that we've changed our campaign strategy too. In 2016, I was the one doing the talking, explaining that the governor will continue building schools, he will continue infrastructure, he will continue erosion control, he will continue with rural, urban roads, etc. But this time, our candidate is familiar with the environment, he's been in the state all his life, so he knows the challenges, and it takes time to explain what he calls a SIPO agenda. So mine is just to say why we should trust him and why we cannot trust the other one. And that is easy to explain because he abandoned the promise of continuing with the projects that made us the darling of Edo people. So I shared this with Mr. President and I said, all we just need is good security. If a APC man commit an offense, arrest him. If a PDP man commit an offense, arrest him. Once it is not about sermon. Sermon do not change the heart of the devil. What changed the heart of men is the fear of sanction. And once one person is arrested from APC, another person is arrested from PDP if they are found involved in unlawful possession of firearms and they misuse those firearms and they are arrested and prosecuted, the message is clear. Of course, you saw the governor, again, not me now, don't take it from me. You saw the governor saying he and his deputy, they have immunity. And therefore they could do and undo. That's true. They have immunity. But it is also clear that the thugs they use to carry unlawful firearms, as they did 3 days ago when they got to a community and they found that there was no crowd, they have to use firearms to generate confusion and even went to seize the telephone of the area commander and assistant commissioner of police who was there along with other DPOs to provide security for their rally. But nobody turned up for the rally because that is the area we have built network of roads, schools, give them electricity. And those guys will not forget us in a hurry. So that is what you see when I get to a crowd and you see the reaction. And people are like, no. So the challenge, our mission is simple. Do you want to get a second chance for somebody who has confessed to failing primary school? Should you promote him to secondary school? The answer is no. So I have a duty to brief the president, not as chairman, let me be emphatic, but as a member, a loyal member of APC who has had the privilege of being a governor twice and I had the privilege of being a national chairman for 2 years. It was a lovely meeting, and the president was happy with the briefing. All we just need the security, and everything will be fine. You want me to engage in a fight with a pig? If you engage in a fight with a pig, the pig already is stained by its nature. And you wear your white garment, in my own case khaki, to go and wrestle with a king, with a pig, I will not. Then, you see, what I want the media to interrogate, how does Winnie Edo, when I was removed as national chairman, Edo was APC. So, do I have to win Edo to come back to, do I look so unemployed? I'm 68. So, people are just, what they don't understand is that it is not the office of chairman that make me who I am. It is my pedigree from my days as a laborer in the textile industry to be the general secretary of textile workers all over Nigeria to becoming president of the NLC. There is no village I go to, people don't know me. And it is this that made me, that I use to override the godfathers in Edo State for 2 consecutive terms, and even got the governor re-elected. 3 elections, no violence, and before becoming national chairman. So if you remove the office, it's like our president now. Maybe I shouldn't I can't compare myself to him, but it's like President Muhammadu Buhari tomorrow, by 2020, his tenure will have lapsed as president. But those who believe in him, 2023, those who believe in him, in 2024, 2025, 2020, whatever, they will always, anytime they see him, that trust they have in him will always be there. When you bond with the people, that bond was not created by the fact that he is president. In fact, he became president because of that bond. So it takes an empty brain to suggest that, oh, Oshiomhole wants to take a comeback to become national chairman. For what? To go and do a receipt. So my attitude is not to reply to those. And that is coming from somebody who says he's an employee, an appointee of Progressive Governors Forum. It's just that the cowards that are using him are not able to come out. Otherwise, you should ask this guy, who is now election expert. He contested for Senate against McCarthy. He lost deposit. He even contested against Governor Rufai for primaries. And he lost deposit before Fayemi unilaterally appointed him as a DG. So if he's now the spokesman abusing me and all of that, you want to drag me to his level? No. A gentleman does not wrestle with a pig. If you do, you will always be stained. And I don't want to go into that. The reaction is clear. If he's the president of Nigeria, he's also the leader of our party. And I briefed him on what is happening. His attitude is always clear, that Nigeria electorate, their right must always be respected. And anybody using unlawful weapon, violence, to intimidate the electorate, the president will never support such causes. And on that, we are together. And I ask you, forget about the fact that I'm pursuing a partisan agenda. But as Labour, police a couple of times shot and killed some of my supporters. I never asked them to go after the police. And I have run election as governor in Edo 3 times, and there was no violence. So what has changed now that people are suddenly talking of violence? The people are still the same. The only thing that has changed is who is the governor, who boasts of his immunity, etc., etc. So President is excited at the prospect of having a free and fair election devoid of violence. And the fact that the laws are clear. When people misuse firearms, the laws are clear as to what should be done. Namely, the courts are there, the police are there, and they will do their job. It doesn't matter which party anybody belongs, the laws are the same. As for the judgment in Bayelsa, these are matters for learned people. What is clear is that the tribunal has voided the election, The implication for that, for my party, is something that we need, or we as a party, we will seek legal opinion. What does that mean for us? I don't think it's something I should speculate on. I am as layman as you on this one. The air is not polluted, so nothing to be cleared. Play back the media. You will see people in APC who used to abuse President Muhammadu Buhari when he was in AMPP. You will also see some AMPP people who were abusing President Muhammadu Buhari when he was in CPC. And today they also join and say, but for him, even they couldn't win their election. They have to lean on the president back. So, if you are monitoring American election, you will see that those who initially supported the current president, on the basis of what is going on, they are reviewing. So, if anybody thought I was a business to market opposition, that is, I think the pastor spoke to you. Take his word for it. And the air is not polluted, so there's nothing to be cleared. Thank you. Well, first, I thank you for praying that I'll be alive in the next 4 years, because future belongs to God. But I don't see the confusion that you are laboring to make. First, no. That I said this man was going to continue. I have spoken to it. Play back those tapes. Because you only play one side. What I said about the PDP. Also say what I said of APC candidate. I said he will continue with campaign on continuity. He will build more modern primary schools and secondary schools. Those were low-hanging fruits we used. Because don't forget that our basic, the federal government subsidized or catapult fund primary school buildings, construction, and other facilities. And I said, he will continue from where I stopped. And I've just told you now, he did not continue. And the people are saying, but you promise us he will continue. He has not continued. And it's a fact that you can see. Two, that you promised he was going to continue with the Benin City water storm master plan to defloor the city and construct modern roads with drainages, with sidewalks, because that is what I did for all the 8 years I was there. Try to transform the Asian city to a modern city, complete with street light. And now the people can see he did not build one dual carriageway in Benin. The street lights are off. Some of you probably remember the water fountain in Benin. That people go to take pictures after wedding. All of that is gone. Benin is back to the dark. And they are saying the promise for continuity has not been met. I will not be so arrogant to say that if a man did apprenticeship with me, and I guess you too in the media, you work as an assistant editor, and your paper was selling, it command huge readership and authority. And then somebody who was your assistant, it is time for you to leave, and you say, this one, if he becomes the next editor as my successor, he is familiar with the editorial policy under which we had operated while he was with me for 8 years. And as soon as you leave, he brings out his own policy where he just collects envelope and write whatever he writes and betray the tradition of the party. I'm not ashamed to say that he promised to continue to build schools. Now that he stopped building schools, then the basis of my support is gone. He promised to build more rural roads. He's not building those roads. Therefore, the basis of my support is gone. We promised urban renewal. Now when it rains in Benin for 5 minutes, people can't drive. Water flow into people's homes. He has discontinued with the Benin City Water Storm Master Plan. If any of you is from Benin, the area they call Teacher's House, where they used to tell us PDP told us it was Mami water that make it impossible for the drainage to be dealt with, we dealt with that. And those are the things that made me won 18/18. And those are the things I promise he will do. Now, having failed to do them, why should I be hesitant in saying, since he has betrayed the people, I can no longer identify with him? Now, even in the world of work, somebody come, and it's not for nothing, they always say, write a referral. I say, my referees are, you list them. And they will write to the prospective employer their knowledge of this person and recommend it for employment. If, of course, the person gets the job because of the respect of the person who recommended him, and he goes in there, he turns out that he's a thief, he's incompetent, never present on duty at the right time, will the referee say, oh, it should be a shame now if I admit? I've told the other people, I'm sorry, this man promised he will continue with the unfinished business of delivering the deliverables to Edo State people. And he has abandoned it for MOU, signing and using consultancy for all sorts of things. Now the consultants have taken their money, Edo people cannot see the development. Have I not given you enough reasons? So, but I am not detained by ego. Only God is perfect. If I did the forecast and it's wrong, I should revise it. And I think you are not being right in saying that you are surprised that somebody who was on a opposition platform, I ought to have been promoting him. Why should I promote somebody who is contesting election on another party platform? But what I'm saying now, at least that you can verify. Take your cameras to Edo and say, Mr. Obaseki, the promise of building more schools, show us the new schools you have done. The promise to build more roads to connect, to integrate the rural community to the urban areas. Show us those roads. When the governor closed out the College of Education in Benin, I was paying 270 million to Abrusali University. Obaseki has reduced it to 96 million every month. Does that suggest that he believes in education? And the College of Education, which we upgraded to University of Education, he has shut it down as we speak. Last week, since you monitor what is going on, you will have seen the students and teachers of Ekiadolo College of Education, which we had upgraded, protested that their school has been abandoned, their salaries are not being paid, the school is closed. You close the College of Education, Ikiadolo, you close the College of Education, Igwebe, you close the College of Education, Abudu. So, and then you claim to be doing Edo Best, where you purport to train teachers with consultants, where you pay 1.5 million to a consultant for purporting to train a teacher for 2-3 weeks. The consultant himself not being a teacher. You are watching on television saying, from his desk, you can see whether a teacher is at work or not. Those are lies that can only be told to a fool or to the Marines. In a country and in a state where even the city have no light, you have no Wi-Fi, how do you monitor? So these are all consultancy, churn out, all sorts of things that look fanciful. But the people on the ground will follow what they have seen. Now, the governor's problem is he has nothing on the ground to see. He renovates a civil service office, okay, that's for the comfort of the civil servants. That is good. It does not impact on the erosion problem. And when those civil servants go to where they live and it is raining, they can't even go to work. So I think you want to see that if you complain against, I've told you, check the books, go and do your research and see those who are most loyal to our president today were perhaps some of those who were most critical of him when he was in another political party. No, I think you should put this question to PDP, not to us, and not to me certainly. We conducted free and fair primaries, and the primaries are open only to APC members, card-carrying members of APC. So you are taking it from the mouth of those who are opposed to the candidate that we went outside. The law of APC does not allow us to go outside of the APC, and we did not go outside. Number two, why I said you should put this question to the PDP is that we had 3 candidates. When you ask the question, does it mean you don't have people within the APC? Of course we do. 3 of them, 5 of them contested, 2 were disqualified, 3 went for the of the direct primaries, and one won. The remaining two congratulated the person who won. And one of them was my deputy. So how could you, on the basis of this fact, suggest that we brought somebody from outside and that I supported? I didn't go to Edo to vote. I was in Abuja, even though I'm a registered voter. But as chairman, it didn't make sense for me to go and vote. Now, you should ask PDP, how come a man that he came to this villa and said he believed in APC, APC is his party. Some of you ask him, will you decamp if you don't get this? And he answered, play back your tapes. No, I believe in APC. I believe in the progressive agenda of APC. At least I read it from your stories that you filed in your papers and in the electronic media. Maybe in this room or in another location within this villa. Say he can never decamp. In the end, the man decamped 4 days to, 2 days to PDP primaries. And the PDP then decided to postpone their primaries twice. And in the end, the question that should trigger you is, how come that person who just came 2 days to the time, if you are calling Mr. Ezeyamu a stranger to APC, even though if you check the record, he was part of the group that formed APC. He attended those conventions, the merger committee, he was very active. So your knowledge of him is probably not quite accurate. But PDP at the last minute postponed their primaries to accommodate a new person, not done. They prohibited all the aspirants, including a serving House of Rep member, a ranking House of Rep member, and all of them were prevailed upon to step down so that Obaseki become the only candidate of PDP. That is what should intrigue you. Now, the other question I told you should ask, which you did it, but I would like to offer an explanation because it makes sense to do so, is why was he disqualified? If in 2016 he was our candidate, he was qualified, why did we disqualify him in 2020? I think that is a valid question that you deserve, we have obligation to explain. In 2016, we feeded him, and we have assumed that he has all the requirements. After all, he knows the law. He was screened by the screening committee under my predecessor, Chief John Oyegun. And it was after he had filed the nomination and INEC published the documents that we discovered that PDP went to court to say that he forged his documents, that he made only 3 passes: religious studies, geography, and history. And that with 3 passes, you cannot go to University of Ibadan without A levels. Nobody get admission to university with 3 O levels. No English, no maths. So PDP went to court. Number 2, PDP showed on television the affidavit he swore to INEC, which you, as investigative journalists, can see ask INEC to show you. You will see certified true copy, where Obaseki said he finished from Egusa Grammar School in 1973 and proceeded to University of Ibadan, where he graduated in 1976. However, he attached a photocopy which suggested that he finished in 1979. And so PDP accused him of lying on oath. And they filed a petition in the Federal High Court. However, he escaped only because PDP filed the case out of time. This year, in trying to make up for the forgery of those documents, he brought a certificate from University of Ibadan which does not bear date and which carries the signature of only the Vice Chancellor without a registrar. And yet, that certificate ought to be the original of the photocopy he had filed in 2016. And the panel, screening panel that included professors who should know what it takes to get admission to university, and senior advocates who know what issues could be if you are involved in certificate racket, they were unanimous that on the basis of what they have seen, This man, if we feeded him, you just asked me about Bayelsa now. The issue in Bayelsa was that the Supreme Court held that there were discrepancies in the name of our candidate. That is why he was disqualified. But we didn't have this fact that he made only 3 passes, that there are issues about his eligibility to go to university until PDP went to court. So what you should ask PDP is, how come, and I can forward to you, Bayo, if you give me his WhatsApp, I'll forward to you the statement made by PDP chairman in Edo, where he was showing the certificates and the racket, the forgery in Obaseki's documents. And he boastfully said, their own candidate, then Eze Yamo, that the original of his documents are intact and they can be questioned. And they were really not questioned. So those are things that I will plead with you to just try and check. So the issue is, how can PDP that went to court to challenge and to expose the forgery, how did they now suddenly come out within 3 days? A man who was in APC became the darling and is now unopposed. And all those who were contesting were asked to step down. And you have the godfathers from Port Harcourt, the godfather from Sokoto, the godfather from Delta, prevailing on the candidates or aspirants to step down, so that in the case of PDP, there was no primaries. It was just one candidate. In APC case, we had 3 candidates. And the election was so free and fair that those who lost congratulated Pastor Yami who won. I think these facts are secret. Opinion is free. Thank you so much. Thank you again. It's a pleasure to be here. It's quite some time.